Good day, everybody, and welcome to this first ever edition of Grilling the Birds, brought to you by Inside the Birds. That man over there is Tra Thomas. I'm Derrick Gunn, and you know, Trey, you and I have talked for a long time about the possibility of doing something together. I didn't know if it would ever happen, but lo and behold, here we are, man.
Here we are. Finally, we get the opportunity to do this, man. And, you know, I was really looking forward to continuing this. But now at some point, man, at some point, we got to do this. But we got to do this around the grill, man. I've been watching you grill all off season. Every time I look up, you have some ribs on the grill, some wings or something like that. So, man, you know, I've been asking for an invite for a minute now, and I just feel like I'm on the outside looking in, and I just want to come over and hang out and have a rib or two.
You can always come over and hang out, man. But in terms of the ribs, you like number 2,475 on the list of 5,000 people who want ribs. And, you know, I was doing some calculations, and, hey, man, the price of meat has gone up, man, and you're a big man. I can't be feeding all you people, man.
Hey, man, come on, dude. We can at least hit Rastelli's up or something, man. We can get the hook up. We get some ribs. Come on, man. Come on, D-Gun. We can fire up the grill, man.
Look. When they get this COVID thing under control, man, and you know, I test you with the thermometer, make sure you not, you know, your levels not bouncing up and down like you radioactive or something. We're good.
All right. That'll work.
All right, of course, the Eagles kicked off the campaign of 2020 on the road against the Washington football team, and I'm still trying to come to grips with saying the Washington football team. Everybody and then some figured this was just a practice game for the Eagles. And what started out great turned out to be a disaster. Oh, my goodness. The Washington football team scores 27 unanswered points to win it 27-17. And Trey, we're going to start with the offensive line. We're going to go in the trenches with Trey. And let's start with the rookie at right tackle, Jack Driscoll. Shocked us all that he was starting as a rookie, his first ever game in the NFL. On the outside looking in, a lot of people are saying, oh, my goodness, get him off the field. But you being the veteran that you are, you say otherwise.
Yeah, when you go in and you look at how this young man would battle, I mean, he found out the morning of the game that, hey, man, you're going to be starting. And you're going to be starting up against one of the top defensive fronts in the game right now. So, you know, I mean, for the only thing I can ask for a young man like that is that you go out there and you battle your behind off. And that's exactly what he did. He went out there and he battled. He gave you everything that he had, every play. And it wasn't like he was outmatched. He did not look like this is something that he did, a game that he did not belong in. I think he came out there and he gave you everything that he had. You're going up against Kerrigan. You're going up against Sweat. And now, you know, you're going up against this phenom of a pass rusher, the number 2 pick in the draft, Chase Young. I think he came out there and he battled his behind off in this game. And a lot of people, they talk about, well, you know what about the mistake that he made when he gave up the sack and he slid out to number 30? Actually, what he did was the correct move. What he did was actually right. The problem is that the offensive line, everybody else was on a different page, which made him wrong. But what he did was the right move based off the defense presented with the 12 protection. And then when the defense came out there in the nickel front, he actually did the right thing. But everybody else was on a different page, so that made it wrong for him.
Okay. I know you're trying to talk up the young man, Trey. How does this affect him psychologically? Because I'm sure he's heard the noise. Now, the coaches will tell him, look, you don't listen to the outside noise. You do what we tell you to do. You're good in this area. We need to work and get you a little bit better in this area. But, Trey, he's only human. And he's in a major market like Philadelphia, a very critical market. How do you drown out the outside noise?
That's going to be impossible, especially in this era when everybody has Twitter and social media is the way it is and everybody's hearing what's going on. So that's going to be impossible. But I think, though, when you go back and you look at this game from him, and even when he goes back and he watches the film himself, he can see, like, you know what? I belong here. You know, everybody has that game when you first start as a rookie or as a player where you go up against some competition and you feel like, you know what, I could be successful on this level. And I think going into this game, finding out that he's making his first game of the season without any preseason games, these games actually count, that he actually came out there and he did a solid job.
All right, the NFL profile on Driscoll coming in to this level was the positives, fluid, mobile, easy, lateral movement. The negatives: need more power to reach his potential at the next level. When you hear that, did you recognize the fact that he was lacking power in terms of holding his ground in certain situations? I'm talking in particular in the pass blocking situation.
Now, there were times when you get the bull rush that he got a little push and he had to hunker down. I think that he's probably going to have to get his weight up a little bit more. And also, you start trying to figure out how to set different guys depending on the situation, which foot is back, what the guy likes to present. Is he going to be a bull rusher? Then you try to change up how you're going to set against him. Do you want to be a little bit more physical right out the gate instead of setting back a little bit more? So that's going to come with more experience and just battling. But of course, you're going to see times where he gave up a little push, but he did, at offensive tackle, it's about bending and not breaking. And you saw him at times get that push, but he was okay. He was able to sit down, honker his hips, sink those hips, and able to redirect the rush. But I think overall, he did a solid job. He did what he asked you to do. I can't remember any time that you saw Kerrigan just run by him and then just other than the time where he set out to go get 30. There wasn't a time where the defensive end or a rusher just ran by him and he just looked like he did not belong on that field.
Okay, so he gets injured in the fourth quarter, and in comes Jordan Mailata, and he's still a project. To me, I don't think he's progressed enough in the time he's been with the Philadelphia Eagles at this level. But you said, hold on now. Don't be too critical of this young man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because, you look at him and you say, okay, he's been a project for the past 3 years. He's only been playing football for 3 years. He was doing rugby and singing, writing music, playing his ukulele.
With his ukulele.
This is what he's been doing, so for years, for everybody else, he's only been playing football for 3 years. The rest of us, we've been playing. Some of these guys been playing since they were 10, 11 years when they were kids. Yeah. I started when I got in high school, but still, that's a lot of years of football to help develop to get ready to go. This man has only been playing the game for 3 years. And then for you to come into a game where you only come in towards the last 18 snaps of the game, so that's 300 and whatever amount of pounds that he is, about 40, 50, 350, just sitting on the bench trying to stay ready. And then next thing you know, you got to go and get out there on the field. I think that when you go back and you look at the film, he didn't get ran over. There was some push here and there. But again, when it came to protection, he held his own. And that's all you want to ask, especially when you're in a situation where you're down and you're going to have to pass the ball and the defense knows you have to air it out. Again, a situation where he did not get just ran by. He didn't just get bulled over. There was a little push here and there, but he was okay. Now, the problem that I have with Jordan is that when he plays when his run game, he's 6'8" and he plays 6'8". So when it's time to run block, he doesn't get low enough to create movement. And that's why one of the situations where I feel like a lot of people say, well, why can't you just put him at guard? I don't think that he gets low enough and bends enough to bump down to the guard position. But that's going to continue to come as he continues to develop in his game and learning how to run block, because I know I struggled as a run blocker as well, being my height. It wasn't my cup of tea. I hated run blocking. But, that's something that he's just going to have to continue to work on.
All right, speaking of the guard position, they start Nate Herbig at right guard. Few games of experience there. Break down Herbig for me.
You know what? I went back and I looked at Herbig. I thought that, there were times where he got a little edged. For me, I wanted Matt Pryor to be that starting right guard, so I had to kind of just get my bias out of it. But at times, I just felt that there was a lot of combination blocks. He and Kelsey were partnered up a lot throughout the game. There was a lot of sliding going to us, helping a lot. But you saw where there were times where he just got beat clean. And, you had Matt Ioannidis, the pride of
Matt Ioannidis, yeah.
I want to say Leonidas, just because of, 300, one of my favorite movies, Yes. But Matt Ioannidis just went out there and gave him a nice hump move, put a nice hit on Carson. You start seeing Carson getting up a little slower with a little grimace on his face. So to me, I saw, it just wasn't as fluid when it came to protection. And then when you start looking at the run game and you say, okay, you know what, why weren't we able to run the ball? Not all of it was his fault, but when you're looking at the guard position, you're the tip of the spear when it comes to some of these combination blocks. And I felt that when you're looking at some of these inside zones, that the combination and the power wasn't where it needed to be. So was it all him? I don't think so, but we'll see how he continues to progress.
You know, at his press conference this week, Doug Peterson said right now that right guard job is Nate Herbich's to win or lose, but he has to go out and earn it. Now, if you're in that situation and a coach gives you a public directive like that, what has to be going through your mind?
That, you know what, my game probably wasn't where it needed to be. I need to tighten up and get better. You know, this is a time that I need to go out in the game and prove myself. If I want that starting job, I need to continue to go out there and prove myself and do what I need to do. You can't get comfortable and just feel like, all right, you know what, I'm good here. Let's just go ahead and move forward. This is a game when a coach comes out and says that to you, that means that, you know what, you have one more chance to go out there and prove yourself, or else you're on the bench.
All right, so we've talked about Driscoll. We've talked about Malata. We've talked about Herbig. A name you briefly mentioned, Matt Pryor. And a lot of us on the outside looking in are going, wait a minute, what happened to the guy who graded out well in that playoff loss to Seattle this past season? How is he not at one of these starting positions when he has more experience than these guys? If you're Matt Pryor, what are you thinking right now?
You know what? You're trying to scratch your head to figure out what's going on. You know, you go from once Brandon Brooks went down to being the starting right guard, penciled in as the starting right guard, to now once the season gets going and you in training camp mode, then you go from right guard to right tackle. Then now all of a sudden, without any experience at being on the left side, other than last preseason's game from last year, they throw him on the left side, and then Josh Sweat just destroys him in practice a couple weeks before the game. So how can that help your confidence when you're talking about getting ready for the season? So I don't know if that started lingering around in his head, and then once he goes up on the right side and starts getting it, who knows what's going on. But, you know, when you start seeing everybody else go down and they don't, they jump over you. And first of all, you have Lane Johnson that doesn't play. And then, you know, because he was playing right tackle at training camp. So Lane doesn't play. They put a rookie with no experience in at right tackle, Jack Driscoll, okay? So then they moved your guard. They give that to Nate. So then now when Jack Driscoll goes down, you're expecting, all right, Matt, it's your time to get in the game. No, they put Jordan Mailata, somebody that's never played in a professional game, in there. So to me, it just seems like Matt Pryor is possibly scratching his head, wondering what in the hell is going on. What more can I do as a player to get out there on the field? So I don't know if there's a little bit more to it, what's going on, but you know, it just seems like, you know, you just keep bumping them down.
All right, let's go to the other side of the offensive line. Jason Peters back at his normal position at the left tackle spot. And Trey, I have a lot of love for Jason Peters. But Father Time, it appears, is knocking on his door. 38 years old versus that 21-year-old young man, Chase Young. And there were times when Chase Young was by Jason Peters before he got set in his stance, man.
Yeah, there were a couple times where JP, you know,
don't say a couple. Stop coming up for him just because he's a friend of yours.
There were a couple times.
Don't give me a couple.
There were a couple times. I mean, like you go back and you looked at the backed up part where they were like on their 2-yard line backed up, where Sweat just ran by JP. I mean, he beat him clean. JP tried to be a little aggressive, jump out there on Sweat. Sweat gave him a nice little outside arm clean. And I mean, Carson got rid of that ball right on time because I mean, Sweat was coming with a full head of steam to take his head off. And then now you go back to the one particular sack where you see JP get beat with the spin move, and Chase Young, I mean, you know, being the athlete that he is, when you go back and you look at that play, as a tackle and you're going up against a defense end, a good edge rusher, if you have him running upfield, you want to keep that going. So a lot of times you would tell the running backs, like, look, man, I know you have chip responsibility, but do not chip him. If you see me running him upfield, let it go, because now I'm going to run him by the quarterback. But there were times that on that one particular sack, JP is running Chase Young by, but then the running back comes in and gives him a nice little chip. It went from help to now you got me in trouble because Chase Young spent off of that chip move, and then now you have a sack fumble. So, of course, that's going to go under JP. Like, hey, JP, you got beat on that one. But, again, that was a running back that kind of caused that. And then there were just a couple times where you just felt like, all right, JP, I need you to finish a little bit more because, you know, you start seeing guys where they come out there, they lock up on their guys, and then they're like, all right, the ball should be gone. And then there it is. The ball is still there. And then now the quarterback either getting hit or another sack.
Well, Obviously, the Eagles' offensive line needs a little bit of help, and hopefully help is coming back in the form of three-time Pro Bowler, one-time first-team All-Pro, Lane Johnson. And speaking of Lane Johnson, on my podcast, Gunn On One this week, I had a chance to talk to Lane, and we talked about his injury, coming back from the injury, and will he be available for week number 2? Take a listen.
Lane Johnson. Lane, how you doing today? Welcome to Gunn On One.
Appreciate you having me.
All right, so let's go to the beginning. So you go out there for pregame warm-ups. You're going through all of the things you need to go through to possibly get ready for a game. Did you honestly think that you had a shot at playing that game Sunday against Washington?
It was a long shot. In a perfect world, we were talking about getting back this week. So, attacking the rehab process, getting through that, and then, wanting to play. I want to be out there with my guys. So that's in store this week.
So how long ago did you have the ankle surgery, and what does the rehab consist of?
I had surgery about 2 weeks ago. A lot of it is, you got to reduce the swelling, likes to swell up in the recovery process. And a lot of it's just getting strength and proprioception, your balance back. And so really that's it. So just getting strength back in it, limiting the pain, and should be ready to go.
I think a lot of people don't understand that you played through much of last season with an ankle injury also similar to this, didn't you?
Yeah, so I think the last 2 years, this has all kind of been leading up to this. So it hadn't really been 100%. I since took the hit in Jacksonville and then the hit last year against the Giants. So kind of been on one leg for some time. So once I get the strength back, I'm ready to be a different player.
So why did you take so long to get this corrected then?
It was something that I was working through. Just continuing I felt fine going into camp, and then one of those things in the scrimmage where it got nicked up, and then had to be cleaned up. So, a lot of it's scar tissue in there from past injuries, but it's like other guys go through the same process. You got to break through that, rehab it up, get your strength back, and once that happens, then you'll be ready to go.
I've said it on record many a times, and I'll say it in front of you right here. You are one of the toughest football players mentally and physically that I know. And if Lane Johnson can't get out on the football field, Lane Johnson has to be hurt, man. So now you're not going to play this game on Sunday against Washington. And we find out that rookie Jack Driscoll is going to start at right tackle in your place. And Nate Herbig, who only has a few games under his belt, is starting at right guard, and people are going into the game saying, oh, my goodness. Now, knowing you like I know you, now, Jeff Stoutland is one of the best offensive line coaches in the game, but I know you're trying to coach up Jack Driscoll just a little bit before he takes on this task. What are you telling him?
I'm telling both those guys to not think, you get out there, you're trying to make everything perfect. Last thing you want to do on the football field is be out there thinking and overthinking things. So I said, man, don't think. I said, our coach likes to say, rely on your training, sink to that process. You don't have to rise to the occasion. And for the most part, man, I thought they played pretty well. There was some stuff you like to have back, but for their first start, they stepped up to the plate. And, as far as young guys progressing, these guys just keep climbing.
So when we all find out who's playing on the right side of the offensive line, I'm texting somebody on the field. I said, what's going to happen? And they text me back, run left, throw quick. Neither of which you guys did consistently. What jumped out at you the most in terms of what started out well, but you got away from, and it just kept getting worse after that?
Yeah, I thought we started off well. We had a good tempo, sense of urgency. We had some deep throws, and then really came out the second half, and I feel like the run game was stagnant. And I guess, you see the last 11 drives, a lot of punts and stuff like that, and really not converting on some of the downs that we needed to. And, when you do that in this league, you're going to lose ball games. So it doesn't matter who you're playing. And, it's really unacceptable from our point of view. And, we're all in this together, and it's been a while since we started the season. I feel like 0-1, but, it's a good punch in the face. And, I think the urgency to get things corrected is very high.
Once Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio figured out what you guys were trying to do, man, they unleashed the hounds. You got Montez Sweat, Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, that first-round pick Chase Young, Matt Ioannidis, who people know here well, who went to Temple. Man, they just kept bringing the house, and you guys couldn't stop them. I mean, obviously, there was a lot of confusion. You had no Miles Sanders. You know, the whole Pro Bowl right side of your offensive line is gone. Man, there was confusion everywhere, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you go back and look at it, some of the sacks are a timing issue. Maybe somebody's not over. First read didn't open. You know, maybe a missed assignment. So there's a lot of misconception with sacks as far as, you know, guys playing out getting beat. There may been a couple, but a lot of it I think may have been just MAs. You know, had to go back and watch the film, but you know. From our standpoint, we have a high standard, the offensive line, and in order to win games, we have to play better, and that goes for, you know, all the games coming forward too.
Do you think Carson holds the ball a little bit too long? Because a lot of times, you know, they always tell you, throw the ball away and live to play another day.
Yeah, but I think he's so good at extending plays. You know, part of what makes him so good is throwing on the run. You know, a lot of these plays that he's made a name for is throwing on the run and getting out of the pocket when things don't happen. So it's a double-edged sword when it comes to that. But as far as Carson, man, he's going to be the guy that's going to be taking us a long way this year. So, you know, 0-1 is not where we want to be, but as far as having mental fortitude and toughness, we got it.
Hey, man, if he keeps ducking the way he's ducking, he may not have finished out this season, man. Somebody better correct that real quick.
Hey, man, it is what it is. I know going in the week, you know, we got a lot of work to do, especially me. Got to get back, you know, practicing. I need to be practicing with my team, getting healthy, and, man, I just want to be out there with my guys. So that's my main goal.
Can we guarantee 100% that Lane Johnson will be out there against the Rams on Sunday?
I'm going to be out there, D-Gun. I'm going to be out there, so count on it.
All right, Trey, so you just heard him. Lane Johnson said he's going to play this coming Sunday against the Los Angeles Rams. That's huge for their right side of that offensive line. But the bigger question is, why did he wait so long to have this surgery if it's something that's been lingering for over a year with him? I don't get it.
Yeah, me either. I don't understand the timing with that. When you wait until August to go in and get a cleanup or whatever the situation is for your ankle, I mean, that's something that should have been done back in January or February. That's an off-season situation. You know, you knew going into the off-season that you were having ankle issues. So go ahead and get that fixed. Instead of going and playing in the Pro Bowl, you possibly should have gone ahead and had your ankle done. You know, that's something that could have been done. Even right after the Pro Bowl, if your ankle was still bothering you, go ahead and get that fixed. It's not going to get any better. So that's a corrective surgery that should have been done back in January, February, definitely before the pandemic hit. And who knew? Yeah. You didn't know that we were going to be dealing with COVID-19 going into this. But still, you know, this is something that should have been taken care of right out the gate. And now you have the whole offseason where this should have been fixed. But then you had Chase Young, who did the video where he was jumping on 60 inches of plyo boxes, you know, and then everybody was all hyped about that. But then Lane was like, well, hold my beer. Let me show you what I can do as a lineman, and jumped up on the plyo boxes. You needed ankle surgery then. Why didn't you get that ankle fixed instead of jumping on 60 inches of plyo boxes? When you were in the locker room, dancing in the locker room, you know, because that the whole situation kind of, you know, pissed me off a little bit because I expect linemen to play. You know, so when you're in the locker room dancing, joking around, after your first scrimmage, after giving up 13 sacks in that practice, you're dancing about having a day off, but then you still needed ankle surgery right then and during that time. So there were too many times where I see you showing out while you need this. So that's why I had a problem with it and the timing of it. So, you know, as an offensive lineman, you got to be there for your guys, and you when you're not there, you kind of, you know, you put everybody at risk. So I just felt like, you know what, man, when it's time to get stuff like that done, do it in the off season so that you could be ready for you guys when it comes to game time.
See, in recent years, we've seen a lot of athletes wait until late June, July in the training camp to have certain types of surgeries. And I'm like, wait a minute, you could have taken care of this back in January. Now, you've had similar situations as Lane with the ankle type injuries. Did you always take care of them earlier rather than later?
Soon as the season was over with, I had bone spurs and had to have my ankle cleaned out. Soon as the season was over with, let's go ahead and get that done. Let's just go ahead and knock it out. And then, when I had meniscus tears or any other little, minor surgeries or any major surgeries, I would try to knock those out as soon as possible so that I can get my rehab going so I can be ready for the next season.
All right, the Eagles add some depth along the offensive line. They signed guard Jamon Brown, 27 years old. This is a road grader, man, 6'4", 340 pounds. A little bit concerned of how much help he can provide, considering Eagles are now his fifth team in the last 3 years. Tell us what you know about this young man, and can he definitely help this offensive line?
Well, you know what? When the news came out about Brown coming to the team, I had to go back and just look at some of the games and just do some research. And one of the things I found is that he was playing for Atlanta. He was the right guard for Atlanta last year when we had the match go up against them. So he was the starting right guard for Atlanta that year. So there's some video that I have here where you see him just getting extremely intimate with Fletcher Cox. The first play of the game with Mr. Fletcher Cox. So you have the first play of the game here where you see Brown right here at right guard, where there's a nice combination block. Hello, Mr. Cox. Very nice to meet you. My name is Mr. Brown, where he put Cox on his back and rolled over him. There's also a couple plays here where you can see him where he takes a nice set, punches a Mr. Fletcher Cox and keeps Fletcher off balance, uses his hands really well. Also, you have a play here where he took a nice little screenplay, and you see him going up against Barnett. He goes up and just says, hello, Barnett. My name is Mr. Brown. Gave him a nice little elbow to the face, a nice little shoulder to the face, knocks Barnett to the ground. Barnett jumps up and gives him a nice little blow. But he already is kind of familiar with some of the guys. So, Fletcher Cox and Barnett, they already have had a chance to meet Mr. Brown. So I think it'll be good to have someone then that, I like those type of guards. Because, you as an offensive lineman, you got to have a little prick in you. And I don't mind having a player like that.
Hey, can you say that in this show? Can you say that?
I don't know. Did we? We could?
Okay.
I guess so.
We'll find out from the FCC.
We're all right. I think we'll be all right. I need our offensive linemen just to be, just have a little nastiness about you. You'll be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the running back situation. We knew no Miles Sanders going into this game, but I thoroughly thought Boston Scott, Corey Clement could handle the situation. And obviously, there weren't many holes for them to run through. But the bottom line is the running backs period had a grand total of 20 touches for a grand total of 76 yards. Not enough. Not enough. Not enough, Mr. Thomas. You have to keep pounding away, especially when the momentum's swinging away from you. You just have to keep trying to pound away.
Yeah, especially when you're up 17-0, you have to keep plugging along. I don't know if Doug just went ahead and just abandoned it just because they felt like, all right, we're not making any hay in the run game. And you start seeing yourself in 38, 39. So you have to just say, you know what? All right, we're done with it. Let's just go ahead and just air it out. And then now once you get down, and now you're trying to catch up, you're not running the ball. Then now it's just going to be all about pinning the ear, defensive linemen pinning their ears back, knowing that, okay, you're in a passing situation. We're getting after you now. So you just started seeing, you have to get that offensive line going early. They had to find some success in the run game early so that the coaches feel comfortable sticking with it.
All right, so if the run game is stagnant, where's the middle screens? Where's the outside screens? Where's the swing passes? Let these guys get open space. We've seen their body of work in recent past years. We know they're capable of churning and getting extra yards and lowering that shoulder and breaking through the first tackle. We know they're capable of making people miss to get that extra yardage. Where are those plays?
Well, we suck with screens. We've been struggling with screens for a while.
Wait, how do you really feel?
I'm just saying, we've really struggled with screens for a while now. A lot of it is timing situations where, when it comes to running a screen, it should be a 2 count in your head. So it should be 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, then you go. A lot of times you start seeing guys getting out at 3. You start seeing guys getting out at 4, and then they don't hit their landmarks. When it comes to running screens, you have to understand where your landmarks are. So if you're on let's say if we're running a screen to the right and we're on the right hash, well, then the right guard is going to get on the outside of the numbers. So he's going to get his 2 count, and he's going to get to the outside of the numbers. Then the center, he's going to do his 2 count, and then he's going to go run up the middle of the numbers. And then the other guy, the last guy, he's going to check if there's a trailer, and then he's going to be on the front side of the numbers. So, you have to get to you have to have the timing correct, and then you also have to have your lanes where you're getting to make sure that works. And too many times you see that guys aren't getting out on time, and they are also not getting to their landmarks properly.
All right, moving on to the tight ends. And I love the way Doug Peterson incorporated the tight ends early in the game. Both tight ends had touchdowns early in this game. Dallas Goedert, in particular, had a breakout game. 8 catches, his first ever 100-yard career day. But I'm now sitting back thinking, wait a minute. Dallas Goedert got more catches than Zach Ertz. Was it that Washington was taking away Zach Ertz more than Goedert, or are we starting to see a changing of the guard?
I think we're starting to see a changing of the guards. There were times where you saw when I go back to the first play, and I'm sorry, I mean, it is kind of when you go back to Dallas.
Why you laughing, man?
When you go back to Dallas's first catch, you see where they came out in 12 personnel, and you have both Zach and Dallas out there together, and they're running the same type of pattern. It's just that Zach was a little shallower and Dallas was a little bit deeper. And you saw Zach get open, and he threw his hand up like, "Hey man, I'm open." And you saw Carson just throw it to Dallas, and it was kind of like, "Oh, hey, I'm open." Oh, okay, all right, that's good. All right, so here we go. This is where I am. But at least on that drive, Zach was able to score. He ended up scoring on that drive. But then you started seeing in situations where there was one play where they came out in 11 personnel. Dallas was the tight end, and they hit Dallas down the field. He was able to run, catch the ball, and get some run after catch. And usually Ertz would have been in that situation. So it just seems to me like might be a little changing of the guard. There are some situations going on. Hopefully they can figure out a way to get both of them looks. But I mean, when you look at Dallas having 9 targets compared to Zach having 7, I mean, there is definitely, it seems like there's just a little shift in what's going on.
Why are you trying to stir up controversy, man?
I'm not saying okay. I mean, I'm just going off of what I see. I don't, it's nothing personal. I'm just going off what I see.
All right, speaking of Mr. Ertz is not a happy man, according to a number of reports out there. The contract situation has come to a stalemate. They've broken off, and then a story came out about Zach Ertz and Howie Roseman getting into a heated discussion at practice last week. And when it was all said and done, both parties agreed to let bygones be bygones. But I don't care what Zach Ertz says moving forward. This is affecting him, Trey.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's been extremely vocal about it. He's already said, "Hey, man, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm extremely emotional. This is something that I want." It's hard to separate what's going on off the field and carry on the field. So, for Zach, it's tough because I know as a player, I'm all for players getting their money. You want to be comfortable. You want to make sure that you're secure and contracts are taken care of and everything is good. But, I think once it comes to game time, you just need to let your agent handle that just so that you can stay focused on what has to happen on the field. Because once you start thinking about all that other stuff, then you start seeing a couple more mistakes and, things start playing into you. Do you give the same? Because everybody's going to start questioning, well, what about his effort? When you drop that pass, then everybody's like, oh, well, was the contract in his head? Was he making a business decision? And stuff like that. And, and then he was talking about, during one of his interviews, you started talking about the injuries you played through and lacerated kidneys and all of that stuff. So you could tell that, his feelings are in it right now, and that's a tough place to be when it's time to play.
Now, head coach Doug Peterson said, he says, whenever a player has a contract dispute, I always tell them, focus on the job at hand and get your mind right. Okay, that's easy for a coach to say, but Trey, we've seen in recent years across the NFL, when players are unhappy about their money, they start verbally blasting front office people on social media. And I mean, they don't pull any punches, and either they get their money or they get traded. And so, it's easy for a coach or a front office personnel to say, oh, you know what? just worry about playing the game. No. This is a business decision these guys are making.
Yeah. Absolutely, because they understand the power that they have as players. Before, you would have a long-term contract, but now and guys really didn't have the platform to be able to jump out there and just say whatever they want to say and air it out in front of everybody to see. So now you start seeing guys realizing the power that they have and the bargaining power that they have, and they're signing shorter deals now. So that makes it a little easier for you to go out there and ruffle some feathers and try to force the hand, and it's interesting to see how guys are taking that approach, especially in football. You saw it in basketball a lot, just because you're dealing with 2, 3, 4-year contracts. But now in football, you're starting to see those shorter contracts where guys feel like, you know what, I don't like where I am. I'm going to go ahead and voice it, air it out, and force you to either pay me or ship me off somewhere.
I just can't believe that you played for the Philadelphia Eagles 11 years and you only signed 2 contracts in 11 years?
Oh, yeah. Only 2 contracts in my 11 years. My rookie contract, I believe, was probably like 6 years, 5 or 6 years. And then my second contract was the opposite. So, I went out there, they signed me after my 3rd year, I believe. So it was after my 3rd year, they signed me to an extension. And so after that, man, I wasn't even starting, man. Because, back then, nobody was sitting out there airing out. I mean, we're going to go on MySpace and tweet out go on MySpace and post the different contract negotiations, man. Everybody was just going out there, just get paid. I didn't know what everybody else was getting paid, the other tackles around the league. I was just focused on what I had to do.
We thank the audience for joining us on this inaugural edition of Grilling the Birds, brought to you by Inside the Birds. We're going to step aside for just a moment because, Trey, we got some bills to pay.
Yeah, pay the bills.
Bear with me for a moment. Now, it sure was nice seeing the teams back out there in the gridiron over the weekend. Luckily for us, that was just week 1. Now, there's no better place to get in on all the action than with DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Now, to add to the excitement of the week coming up, which is week number 2, DraftKings Sportsbook is bringing back their can't-miss offer. If you haven't tried DraftKings Sportsbook yet, head to the App Store now because you don't want to miss this. DraftKings Sportsbook is giving all new users the chance to turn $1 into $100 when they bet on any team. That's right. You can turn $1, bet on any team, and you can turn it into a cool Benjamin. How are you going to pass something like that up? If you're new to DraftKings Sportsbook, head to the App Store now to scout their latest offers. Bet with DraftKings Sportsbook, a sportsbook that goes wherever you go. DraftKings is safe, reliable, and secure, making it easy for you to deposit and withdraw your money at your convenience. Now, download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code ITB when you sign up to get this can't-miss offer. Pick any team during week number 2, bet $1, and you have a chance to win $100 if they win. That's $1 to win $100 when you use promo code ITB during sign-up, but for it's a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. How'd I do?
That was good. I like it.
You weren't even paying attention.
I was paying attention. I was drinking water. I was checking my phone. I was checking this stuff, I was paying attention, though. I was hearing. I was listening. I'm good.
All right. Let's get back to breaking down the Birds and that week 1 fiasco against the Washington football team. Let's move on to the wide receivers. 7 targets and only 2 catches for Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah.
Seriously? And he was deemed healthy going into this game?
Yeah.
And then your coach coming out and says, I had him on a pitch count. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Load management has finally hit the NFL. So here we go. Load management now is officially in the NFL. When you have someone like a Deshaun Jackson turn around and you say, you know what, you only get 54% of the snaps.
Yeah.
What is going on? I mean, to only come out of this game for Deshaun Jackson and only have 2 catches, 7 targets is ridiculous. Before, we've always leaned on Deshaun Jackson to give you some big plays, down the field. And here we are in a situation where here he is with only 2 catches, 7 targets. And, it's just, I'm not hurt. Everything is cool. I'm all right. That's the report that's coming out. And then Doug saying all this. So, it's just not what you want to see when you have a player like that and what you brought him in to be. I guess you were going to try to lean on Reagor to be the speed guy, But to me, it just seems like you would more want to lean on your veteran to kind of give you some help, especially in a situation like this where you felt when you were down and you needed to get some big plays.
Yeah, Greg Ward, I think if they let Greg Ward settle in at just that slot position, I think he's better suited there. He always seems to be in the right place at the right time. I love this young man's game. He had 5 catches for 31 yards. And, when your quarterback's in duress, you're always looking for that safety valve. Either it's the tight end or the guy in the slot. And I think Greg Ward's production, until they get Deshaun Jackson more integrated into this offense, I think Greg Ward needs to be a little bit more involved in the offensive game plan because he can get separation. He's very shifty. And, more importantly, you look at a lot of his catches, they're always first down. I call him first down Greg until further notice.
Yeah, you definitely need to get him in there. And I don't understand why it's taking you to get Deshaun Jackson so much, still involved in the game plan. But, hey, having Greg Ward in there is fine. You need a release valve, like you were saying. You need that release valve, someone that you can kind of count on to, when things go awry and you feel like you're in trouble. All right, where's my release valve? There he is, Greg Ward.
These young receivers like the John Hightower, they're going to have to get mentally and physically tougher because what was given to you as a collegiate player, you have to earn each and every day. Nobody's giving you anything in the NFL. Guys are hungry in the NFL. Guys trying to pay bills and support families. And, I thought John Hightower was a little too tentative at times in terms of battling for the ball.
And I think also a thing that can be something that you can kind of take from that is that they've been practicing, just going through training camp. And training camp practice is never like the game. It's just kind of a way to kind of go through the timing and spacing and all of that. But then when you get in the game, that secondary is challenging you a lot more when it comes to gameplay. So now what was working when you were in practice, just going out there, running your route, I can make the catch, the ball is there. The secondary isn't challenging you. They're not going in there trying to get after the ball and make that interception or cut you off your route and trying to make the play. They just let you catch the ball and just go on about your way. So now here's a game situation where I think this is a byproduct of not having any preseason games. So now you're figuring this out on the fly because, you just been dealing with training camp and all the reports were saying that, oh, man, they just out there lighting Slay up, right. Man. We might have trouble now, So here we are. It comes game time. Secondary now, Washington's secondary was supposed to be the question on their defense. But those guys came out there to play.
J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Is he still in the witness protection program? I don't know. I can't figure it out.
And I had high hopes for J.J. just because of how he came back from the offseason. And he was talking about how he went in the lab. He went on spent some time out in the wilderness, got his mind right, got away from social media, and then he comes back and, he had a couple practices in training camp where he had 3 or 4 touchdowns. And I think one of the reporters asked him, hey, man, you did really good on that particular touchdown. And he came back, like, which one? And you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, oh, all right. Okay, JJ, that's what I'm talking about, baby. And then you get the game time and you look at the stat sheet and it's like not even a target.
Yeah.
What happened to that JJ? Where did that JJ go? I don't know.
That young man has, and I know it's not on him. It's not solely on him. Obviously, his number has to be called. Obviously, the quarterback has to have some faith in him. But for a second-round pick, he's got to step it up, man. I mean, You're talking about a situation where he's a second-round pick from just a year ago. Your current second-round pick was inactive, and we all knew this was going to happen. Okay, so you've got 2 second-round picks that on most teams are viable entities, whether it's on offense or defense, and these guys are basically just collecting paychecks. And that's not a knock against them. That's a knock against whoever selected them. But that's another story for another day. All right, okay. I deliberately saved the quarterback for right now, Carson Wentz. And I'm going to tell you something, Trey. I felt bad for him. Bad for him, Trey.
Yeah.
270 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But that man, he got beat down, Trey.
Yes.
In that fourth quarter, he was beat down, Trey. You could tell mentally he was beat down, Trey.
Yeah. He 8 sacks and 15 quarterback hits will do that to you. You know, that's when you text the missus on the way home and like, baby, I need you to get me an Epsom salt bath. I need you to get the Epsom salt, you know what I'm saying, and run me a hot bath because I need to soak, just because, I mean, he took a beating out there on that field. And I mean, Some of it was him. Some of it was the coaching.
Yeah.
Where you go and you look at the one play, one of the interceptions, one of the sacks that was giving was when you had the tight end screen where Kerrigan saw it and he fell back into it and shut it down. Well, you had Deshaun Jackson wide open on the sideline.
Mm-hmm.
As a coaching staff, too many times you have it where the first read is always there in practice. So you never make the quarterback go to his second and third read. You don't always take those first reads away. So now you have a situation where the first read was not there, and he's like, uh-oh, what do I do? Sack. There you go. Not knowing that Deshaun Jackson is right over on the other side of the field, 10 yards away, wide open. I mean, wide open. You could have just turned and just thrown the ball to him as soon as Kerrigan played back into Dallas guarded. But instead, you get flustered and you don't go to your outlet. So, some of that I put on him, but some of it I put on the coaching as well. On one of the other sacks that it was the 3rd and 8 where they knocked out of field goal range. He should have gotten rid of the ball, instead of trying to backpedal out of it. But then that's Carson Wentz just trying to be Carson, because there have been too many times where you see the highlight when he played Washington before where he ducked out of everybody, and then he came out of it, and it was slow motion, and he made this beautiful pass. Here we go again. Now you're trying to make that same play, but Washington was watching that highlight as well, and they're like, oh, no, we're not going to let that happen. We're not ducking. You're not going to duck through us this time. We're going to make sure when everybody rallies, we're going to rally together and get you down, and that's where you start saying, okay, Carson, you should have gotten rid of the ball instead of trying to make that highlight reel.
Now, I know Carson is a bigger target at 6'5", and like you said, the one time he ducked, he escaped the pressure, but you know what? Trey, he does that duck move a little bit too much to me, especially when you got the pressure coming up the middle. The first thing I'm thinking is, man, this young man's going to jam his neck, because, a defensive lineman, a linebacker, a safety, they're coming at you full bore. They're not only trying to hit you, they're trying to knock that ball loose, and it only takes that one time for him to duck the wrong way, and all of a sudden you have a neck injury.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I noticed when I was watching and breaking down the film.
Yeah.
He is doing way too much trying to duck under there. You had one time where Sweat, when he tried to run the bootleg to the right, and he tried to duck under Sweat, and Sweat just gobbled him up right there, and he hit Carson right down the middle and took him down and landed on the back of Carson's neck. So, I mean, right there, you need to start thinking about protecting yourself a little bit better and not doing all that ducking. I mean, I know that it's cool when you can duck under a guy and the defender slides over the top of you. But, I mean, right now, defensive guys are starting to wrap him up a little bit better, especially in this game here. So I would start to kind of get away from that before you end up with a serious neck injury.
All right, let's go over to the defensive side of the football and the Eagles front, which is supposed to be the strength of this defense. They did sack young Dwayne Haskins 3 times. But, Trey, I thought that young man was a little bit too comfortable back there. They rattled him early on. But once he settled in, the Eagles allowed him to be just a little bit too comfortable back there. He didn't put up impressive overall numbers, but he put up effective numbers.
Yeah, he was extremely, when you look at the beginning of the game, you can see that he was taking bigger shots down the field. He was trying to throw those big shots down the field, holding on to the ball a little bit longer. I mean, the Eagles did get 3 sacks, 10 quarterback hits in this game. But as the game continued to go, instead of testing the secondary deep and all those big throws, he started taking those little short throws, just getting the ball out of his hand at 1.7 seconds, 1.8 seconds, 2 seconds. On the one drive that he scored a touchdown, he took him down the field, there wasn't one throw that went over 2 seconds. I mean, he just was taking whatever the defense gave him, those nice little easy throws. Let your playmakers make plays instead of trying to go downfield. Take those underneath throws, and then now once you make enough of those, they'll play down, and then you can take that deep shot, but he never had to because he could just get those little underneath throws. They started running the ball a little bit better. I mean, you held them to under 100 yards. That's a success when you're looking at the defense, if you can keep that the opposing team under 100 yards. But they had more than us, and they did enough in the run game to keep the drives going a couple of times. But, I think what Dwayne did, he just made some nice little underneath throws, just getting the ball out of his hands to keep himself clean.
All right, so there is one guy on that defensive line that you want to hone in on, the $100 million man. I'm going to let you say his name. And when you look at his stats, 2 tackles, no quarterback hits. That's not enough.
Yeah.
It's not enough, and I know Jim Schwartz says, when it comes to Fletcher Cox, there are a lot of things that he does that don't show up in the stats that allow other people around him to do certain things. You got $100 million man. He's got to show up in the stats, Trey.
Yeah, I need to see a little bit more out of Fletcher. Fletcher is the type of player that once the season gets going and it's a little later on in the season, then he starts turning it on a little bit more.
Right.
But in a situation right here where you had a game that you needed to go out here and just dominate, especially against an offensive line with the Washington football team that had a lot of questions, you needed to have your guys go out there and dominate this team. And I just did not see domination out of Fletcher Cox. It was just kind of, there were a couple plays where he beat the guy and created just a little bit of pressure, but he didn't get a hit on the quarterback. Dwayne got rid of the ball quick enough where it was ineffective. So I just didn't see the Fletcher Cox that we know we have on the team. The thing with Fletcher at times that's a little frustrating when you watch him is that he could be way better than what he's doing, and he knows it. But we just need him to, let's go, big fella, because you don't have the energy in the stadium. You don't have the fans to feed off of. So you have to create that energy as players. And I need to see that a little bit more out of Fletcher Cox to be the guy that we know he can be throughout each game.
So the Eagles went into this season opener a little nicked up. They did not have Javon Hargrave in the trenches. They won't have him again this week. And coming out of this game, Brandon Graham gets a concussion. He is still in concussion protocol. We're hoping he's able to play this Sunday for week number 2. Vinny Curry is down from what we're told 3 to 4 weeks with a severe hamstring issue. Now that rotation that Jim Schwartz loves to have doesn't exist. We don't know what Derek Barnett's status is yet. So who has to step up now for this Eagles defensive line, especially the guys coming off the edge?
I don't know. Who knows? I have no idea. I don't know. You probably put Nate Gary down there. Let him rush. I don't know, man.
Stop.
Hey, put the white snake down there, man. Let the white snake get out there, man. I don't know, man. Let me look. Let me see. I don't know. I don't know.
You ain't right. You ain't right, man.
To be real with you, when you got, I guess you're gonna have to continue to lean on Josh Sweat, who came out there. He had a sack, so so there you go. You can lean on Sweat. I don't know. When you look at what's going on here, I have no idea. But you know what now? Malik Jackson, man, he had a couple plays where he came in there, created some pressure, early on in the game where he was forceful. But, when it comes to now having to get at the quarterback, now when you have to get ready for the Rams, where you have a team that's going to be giving you a whole lot of play action, what are we going to do here? That's a problem.
Okay. Darius Slay brought in here to take away a percentage of the field. He went up a lot of times against Terry McLaurin, a young man who torched the Birds not once but twice in 2019. McLaurin had 5 catches for 61 yards. Not the same Terry McLaurin who burned the Birds a season ago, and I think it's because of Darius Slay. Did you like was Darius Slay everything you thought he would be? I know it's only one game, but was he everything you thought he would be from what you observed?
Absolutely. I think Darius Slay came in and he did exactly as advertised. He came out there, shut down the best receiver. They played 50 snaps. That's way more man than they've ever played throughout any game. So he came out there and did exactly what he was supposed to do and shut down the best receiver. And that's what you brought him in here to do. Right. Now, one of the things, because, when now the reports that were coming out of training camp was like, oh, my God, Darius Slay. I mean, I don't know. The receivers are having their way with him. We might have another Namdi. I don't know.
No, you didn't say. You didn't say that, did you?
I'm just saying. That's what was the reports were. I'm just going off the reports, what the media was saying, what people were saying that, hey, man, the receivers are having their way with Darius Slay. But that just shows you the difference between practice and game time. And he came out there and he did exactly what he was supposed to do, shut down the best receiver, and let's get on to the next one.
So week 1 is behind the Philadelphia Eagles now. Now they can look ahead to week number 2, and here come the Los Angeles Rams, the Lincoln Financial Field. And whenever you start talking about the Rams, you have to start with that man in the middle of their defense, Aaron Donald. Just saying his name just gives me chills, Trey. I mean, You look at what he did against the Dallas Cowboys in a hard-fought win. 4 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss, a sack, but more importantly, 4 quarterback hits. They better know where Aaron Donald is on the field come Sunday.
Oh, you best believe they are going to know exactly where number 99 is. They're going to be pointing him out. Hey, where's Aaron Donald? Who is Aaron? Where is Aaron Donald? They're going to make sure that they slide to him. They're going to make sure that they chip with the running backs. They're going to be doing everything that they can to stop this man because, I mean, one-on-one, he is a load. And now this is going to be the interesting thing. When you say, okay, you know what, we're going to start sliding to Aaron Donald, then now that means that you're going to expose the other side of the line. So this is going to be interesting to see how they kind of game plan this. Coach Stoutland has his work cut out for him. If you just gave up 8 sacks, 14 quarterback hits to the 10th best pass rushing team from last year, what are you going to do against Aaron Donald and company, who was 4th in the league last year? I mean, you know, this right here is just another challenge. These next couple games, there are no easy ones except for Cincinnati. So now here you go against Aaron Donald and company. What are you going to do? And now you don't think that the Rams know that, hey, everybody's going to slide to him and we're going to always try to double team him as much as possible, that they're going to start sending linebackers over the top of it. They're going to be bringing safeties, nickels over to the other side. So that's what I would do. If I was on the defensive side of the ball, you know that they're going to slide to him. All right, then, well, let's bring the other pressure to the other side.
I don't mean to demean these young men I'm going to mention, but we're keeping our fingers crossed that Lane Johnson will be back at the right side, anchoring that right side of the line. But if for whatever reason, unforeseeable reason, he's not, and we're talking about Jack Driscoll and Nate Herbig again, if I'm the Rams, Aaron Donald's playing defensive end the whole game on that side of the football field. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there.
I put him everywhere. I mean, you know, with a player like that, you match him up against everybody. Let's see where the weak link is. I mean, you just had a report that Jason Peters was took a little time down for his knee. You're having a knee issue. So, you know, I would put Aaron Donald all over that field. Especially, I'm going to line him up over Kelsey as well. You know, I mean, you know, no one is immune on that offensive line right now, especially coming off of what you just saw against Washington.
What makes Aaron Donald the best of the best?
I think his motor. You see someone that plays at a high tempo every snap. I mean, he is someone that's just always giving you a different butt and goes, where he's going to come in with a bull rush and then come with a plan B, or he's just always playing hard. He has that energy, that tempo that he doesn't need the fan base. He doesn't need the energy behind him. He's coming with it. Whenever he puts his cleats on and he steps on that field, he's playing with a different level of energy, and that's what makes him better. I think that, and it's not like he's coming with a wide array of moves. It's just that he doesn't stop. And that's one of the things that's always a problem when you're dealing with a player like that.
Well, whoever's in the uniform along the defensive line for the Eagles, they better come with it, because we saw Jared Goff against the Cowboys. He's going to dink and dunk his way down the field. He's not going to take a lot of unnecessary shots. But one of the matchups I'm really looking forward to watching is Robert Woods against Darius Slay. Robert Woods had over 100 yards in the first game of the season. I don't know how much they're going to match up. I think that's a very intriguing matchup in this game.
Yeah, I think, you know, you whichever one you're going to have, because, I mean, it's pick your poison with Woods and Cup. You know what I'm saying? So this is going to be one of those situations where hey, Slay, hey, man, come on. We're going to have to lean on you again. And I think Slay is built for it. That's definitely what he when you hear him talk and you hear him do his interviews, he's all for the challenge. And he's like, I want to show everybody that I'm the best. And you can't be the best if you ducking cats. And I think that Slay is all for whoever you want to put him up against.
All right, that is it for our maiden voyage of Grilling the Birds, and, you know, where Tra Thomas has just ripped up the birds left and right. I hope you people understand I'm just the innocent bystander in all of this.
Oh, okay. I'm just reading the notes you sent me.
Oh, my God. Thank everybody for hopping on board with Grilling the Birds, brought to you by Inside the Birds. From my man right there, Tra Thomas, I'm Derrick Gunn. We'll talk to you next week. Hopefully, keep your fingers crossed, after an Eagles W against the Los Angeles Rams. So long, everybody.